I don't know about you, but I'm absolutely obsessed with AI. After all, 2/3 of my first name consists of AI. But jokes aside, I think it's no longer a question whether you should be using AI or not. The answer is pretty clear. The question is, which is the best AI to use? Because let's be honest, in the beginning, it was very clear. You had a couple of tools out there, ChatGPT and the likes. But by now, look at all those lists. I mean, these are all the various categories in which you can use different AI tools. And it's really overwhelming, even for myself. You feel the FOMO of having to try new tools constantly. And I think that can get quite exhausting. That's why in this video, I wanted to share with you my favorite tools that I use really on a daily basis that really help me make my life easier and more productive. After all, I used to be a luxury hotel general manager, where at the peak, I was managing over 300 employees. So yeah, I literally had a person for pretty much everything that needed to be done around the hotel. Fast forward to today, I'm running my own business and operations with 10 different income streams, making 3 YouTube videos a week, a newsletter, social media, all the various things that are part of it. And guess what? I have 0 employees. Well, of course, apart from my trusted AI employees, if you want. With this, let's jump right in and I'll show you which tools I like personally the most. So the first one shouldn't really surprise anyone, and that's ChatGPT, the trusted AI and probably the most commonly used by most people. And I think rightfully so. They really came a long way. And in this video, I'm not going to compare the benchmark of who's better and what. I just want to give you my realistic feedback of which one resonates best with me, right? Because sometimes, those benchmarks, they can be a little bit misleading. For example, some of the newer models, they might outperform ChatGPT in some coding or math challenges, which I'm not really using, right? So why would I look at that when the general output on a daily basis is much better and much more user-friendly on ChatGPT? And that's also something I really want you to keep in mind. You want to have as little friction as possible, because some AIs that I tried in the past, probably they're arguably quite smart, but just the user interface to get to there, it's just cumbersome, or they don't have an app on the go, or it doesn't sync automatically. And here with ChatGPT, it really came a long way, and it's really, really solid. And I like that I can literally dump anything into it. I can upload videos to analyze the video. I can upload a picture to analyze and get data out of the picture, PDF files. When I have some long legal agreements with my partners or rental contracts, I upload them here and ask it different questions. There are so many use cases. So honestly, I couldn't imagine my life anymore without ChatGPT. It's definitely my workhorse. I would say I use it probably 80% of all my AI tasks go straight into ChatGPT. Right now I'm on the Plus plan, which is around $20 a month, which honestly I think is really a bargain. And if anyone says it's expensive, sorry, then you're not really using it right, because it offers you so much value for $20. That's pretty much the same as Netflix, which gives you nothing. Here you can really use that to make money. Honestly, it's crazy good. And of course, now I'm super excited that they added deep research to Plus users as well. Previously, that was only on the Pro plan at $200. And now, having tried it, when you click on it, obviously you have to be on the Plus plan or higher. It is crazy good. Because sometimes when you ask it for an analysis on a certain topic, it kind of gives you a good, okay answer, but it doesn't really get as many sources. If you go under deep research, it will really take a deep dive, check up to, 50, 60 different sources and really go deep. It writes me blog posts and other things. And so good. It's huge day and night difference between the regular mode, even if you have search the web enabled. Unfortunately, on the Plus plan, you only get 10 searches per month. So actually, I can't show it to you right now because I already used all my searches for the month, but it's really, really powerful. And that actually got me to the point where I'm even considering to potentially pay $200 for the Pro plan. But even that, I think it gets you around 120 searches. So that's around 4 searches a day. Yeah, so I'm still thinking about that, but it's really, really powerful and I really love that feature. And I actually switched to using ChatGPT on my Mac as a desktop app because of one killer feature. And that's that little microphone icon over here. Because usually what I do is I just click on that and then talk into my computer. And it's just such a game changer because it transcribes it so well. I can literally just click on the button and talk for 5, 10, 15 minutes. Doesn't matter how long, at least I never reached the limit. And I give it so much context. I just speak to it like a person, right? And that's what I also want you to think about. Don't think about how to come up with the best prompt, right? People try to over-engineer things. Just speak to it like a human. The way you would talk to a colleague when you want them to do a specific task, you would also give it the context, right? Not just say, write me an inspiring blog post. About what, right? What's the company about? What's the language we use and so forth? So here I can really go on, talk about what I want, feed it more and more context. hit enter, and that will start going to work. And yeah, that little thing, which unfortunately is not available in the web version, it's a game changer. And that's why I mostly use the desktop app. And the cool thing is you can also use it on the phone, at least on Apple. I don't know about Android, but probably I guess as well, you can click that button and just speak to it. Now it's different to the advanced voice mode where you have a live dialogue with ChatGPT, which is also pretty cool. I did a video about this in the past. It's really fun in the beginning when you speak to it like a real human being, right? It answers you without much lag or delay. But at some stage, it got a bit annoying because sometimes while it replies, you think about something, or then I spoke to somebody else and then it got interrupted and stopped talking and I can't go back. While it's gimmicky and cool, I actually prefer speech to text, where I can really talk into it. And then if I have to go elsewhere, I can come back to it. I can see my transcription and the answer. And it's just really such a powerful way. If you haven't tried it yet, it's definitely my favorite way of how I interact with AI. Right, before we move on to the next AI, one little prompt I would recommend you to try out if you're using ChatGPT a lot, right? If you don't use it, it doesn't really know much about you or have any reference to go by. And also, I'm assuming you're turning on the memory. You can switch on memory inside the settings, which basically memorizes a lot of things about you so it gets to know you better. So if, for example, now I ask something about our dog, it knows it's a toy poodle, the name is Nutella, and all the history, whatever we spoke about in the past. So definitely it has more context and memory about you. The same way how you would have a conversation with your friend, the more you speak and grow your relationship, the more the person knows about you. So that's really cool. So the prompt I want you to ask ChatGPT is the following. Everyone in the world is best at something. Knowing what you know about me, what am I best in? Honestly, you'll be really surprised. Right, with this, we move to the second AI, and that I use a lot as well. And that's Claude AI from Anthropic. Such a difficult name to pronounce. That's where Amazon also invests a lot in. And, being now an Amazon shareholder, I'm obviously excited about this. Basically, I use it for one thing, and that's the way it writes. Because let's be honest, ChatGPT, you can prompt it in a certain way and so forth, but it still kind of sounds a bit ChatGPT-ish, right? You can very often see that all these emojis and uplifting words, it just sounds a little bit the same. On Claude, it's really amazing. The way it writes naturally without having to choose any specific style or something really sounds so much more conversational. So that's where often I would actually do the research inside ChatGPT or some other tools I come to in a second, and then put those findings or resources into Claude and ask it to write a nice text based on that, because it really does such a better job. Why don't you use Claude for research? Because actually it's not connected to the internet. Funnily enough, it doesn't access the internet. So it's really kind of outdated for information research and so forth. Plus it can't generate images and so forth. It really doesn't have all those bells and whistles that some other AI tools have, but that's what I like it for, right? If I need good writing, I come to Claude. As you can see, I'm on the paid plan, the professional plan. Most of the tools that I really use, I'm on the paid plan because it does offer you added benefits. And they recently upgraded from 3.5 Sonnet to 3.7 Sonnet, and supposed to be even more intelligent. Based on the writing, it was already good, but I also use it for coding because you can ask it to code some charts, illustrations, graphics, tables in HTML format, for example. And then I just copy that code into my website or other places, and you have some amazing graphics where people ask me, how did you do that? Well, I use Claude for that. So really, really impressive. And yeah, I really recommend you to try it out. With this, we move to Grok 3, which is the AI from Elon Musk. And I know what you're thinking, right? I mean, I'm not going into any politics here, but purely on what it does, honestly, it came a long way. It actually used to live over here on X, as you can see over here, Grok, but now it has its own website called grok.com. And they recently came out with Grok 3, which is supposed to be currently the smartest LLM out there. Hard for me to quantify, but it is really good. Yes, I'm once again on the paid plan, but I think even on the free plan, currently you can use a lot of it. And I think you can even use deep search, which is the tool I use mostly. Because as I mentioned to you, while I personally think that the ChatGPT deep research is even better, it's only limited to 10 searches a month. Here, as far as I know, there's no limit to it, and I really use it a lot. It's so thorough, it goes through so many sources. Of course, it also has all that Twitter and relevant information, so it's really up to date with a lot of things that are happening in the world. Yes, it does take time, sometimes up to a couple of minutes until it has the answer, but then the answer is really very good. Now, personally, I don't always like the writing, so it's not something I would just copy paste into an email or into a blog post or whatever, because the writing, for me, it's not really my style. So what I would then use is take those information, copy it over to Claude and ask Claude to polish it up in a nice way. That's usually my workflow. But honestly, those deep searches, that's mostly what I use Grok for if I'm out of searches on ChatGPT. And with this, we come to yet another AI tool that I use. Probably the least out of the four, and that's Perplexity. Now, recently I started once again using it a little bit more because they also introduced deep research. So that's similar to what I've shown you on ChatGPT and Grok. So they started that because previously all those pro searches and reasoning, I didn't really like it that much. But now the deep research, it's similar to the other two I just mentioned, that really goes out to the web, looks for many, many different sources, not just 3, 4 like it did on a simple search, but really 50, 60 searches. It also can take 5, 6, 7 minutes sometimes to really give you a perfect answer, but you get really nice deep insights, and I really value that. So it's really, really powerful. And again, I don't know how the plan is. I'm on the pro plan, which I got with Revolut Ultra, free of charge basically as part of my subscription. So if you are on any of the paid plan, I believe with Revolut, for example, you can get access to Perplexity Pro. Honestly, otherwise, that would probably be a plan I would be canceling, because technically I could get a similar result with Grok. But again, for me, the writing is really not the best. Yes, you could change the model, how it replies and so forth, but also the overall user interface is personally not my favorite. I know a lot of you watching really like Perplexity, it's amazing, and it is great. It's just not my favorite, but I think that's also fine, right? You can't have 5 different favorites, so you have to pick whatever works best for you. So currently I use it whenever I don't get a satisfying answer, let's say out of Grok, or I'm out of credits with ChatGPT, then I jump over here on Perplexity, use deep research, get a detailed answer, and then once again use that answer, jump over to Claude and get a nice polished answer, reply, whatever I have to do with that information. Now in terms of Gemini from Google, which is also available free of charge, you can also upgrade to the Gemini Advanced. Their naming in general are really horrible across most of those AIs, really confusing, right? All the different models and so forth, especially with Google, it's very confusing. Then you have Gemini Flash, you can choose the different models here. You have Gemini Advanced. I mean, for me, it's really overwhelming. But personally, I never really enjoyed it that much. So I tried it a few times, but somehow maybe I'm using it wrong, but I'm usually most underwhelmed with the reply from Gemini, because even now with things developing so fast, I quite often, when I have a specific prompt, I copy it into 4 or 5 different, AI tools just to see the quality output. Because maybe today I don't like Gemini, but in 2-3 weeks they come up with an update and it's better. So then of course I'm going to start using it, right? So I just want to go with the flow. But right now, as we speak and I'm recording this video, it's just not my favorite. However, one cool thing is if you go to aistudio.google.com, it's yet another AI tool. I know it's a little bit overwhelming and confusing, but here what you can do is streamline real time. And that's really, really cool. Basically what you will do down here, select the video source and you can screen share your own screen. So basically, Google can look into what you're doing on your screen, not just in the browser. I was, for example, on Final Cut Pro, which is the tool that I use to edit my videos, and I was trying to do something new that I haven't done before, and I didn't know where to click. So then basically I asked in real time Google to help me where to find it, and it pointed me where to go with my mouse, where to click. And it was actually really, really good. I did the same recently when I was running my first ads, which I haven't really done before. I was a bit overwhelmed with all the ads manager and so forth. So here they really guided me through the process free of charge. So definitely check it out. I mean, it's really, really interesting. Still sometimes a little bit laggy, but in general, really, really cool. And it just shows you the future of AI, where we headed. And especially once we have AI agents soon. I mean, really crazy times ahead, but definitely give it a go. With this tool, I was quite impressed. And yeah, it's free of charge. And yet another free AI tool from Google is called Notebook LM. As I said, I mean, naming conventions and the way they organize things for me is a little bit all over the place. But nonetheless, it's actually worth trying out, because the cool thing is here you can upload your own sources. It could be a YouTube video, it could be a website. You can really be concrete of what sources you want to feed it. And based on that, you can either ask a question, develop a timeline. And the coolest thing, based on your sources, it can even create its own podcast with 2 speakers. It's like a conversation. Not only that, they can have the conversation based on your sources. They will basically discuss it, and it's really very good. But now you can even join the conversation. So you can click a button, join the conversation, and then you ask those podcasters a question about the context, or if you're learning something, or if it's a legal exam, whatever, and they will answer you. You have to try it out to believe it. It's really so good. So I don't use it that often, but whenever I do use it, I'm still blown away by it. So there you have it. These are the tools I mostly use. But of course, as I've shown you before, there's so many more tools out there that I could be using, but I really like to master the few that I use on a daily basis and get the most out of it, because I think too many people jump around too many different ones and don't really master one and really use them to the full extent. So that's why for me personally, right now, I'm really not using things like Meta AI. I played around with this, but for me, it's still a little bit more gimmicky. I don't see any additional use case that I wouldn't be getting out of the other tools that I've shown you before. There's of course also Apple Intelligence, right? Where now it's kind of baked into your phone. Siri got smarter, but still for difficult questions, it sends it off to ChatGPT. So I might as well just use it from the beginning. There's also finally a European AI that kind of does a good job called LeChat from Mistral, from France actually. Not too bad. I played around with this a little bit, but as I said, I already have so many other good tools. So I wouldn't want to have yet another tool, but if they continue to innovate and maybe bring some unique features, I would definitely consider trying them out. And lastly, of course, DeepSeek, which really caught so many by surprise, because apparently with so little money, they came up with a model so much better than ChatGPT, even though it turns out to be not the full truth. Apparently there were way more resources spent on that. And I did play around with this, and it's definitely nice, but personally, I wasn't super impressed. And once again, nothing that the other tools that I showed you couldn't do. And I used them already for so long, especially with ChatGPT and the memory feature. It really knows me, right? So I have a long relationship with it, and I wouldn't want to start it all over again with DeepSeek. And of course, ultimately, it also comes to where you want to have your data stored, right? You want to have it all in Chinese servers, in American servers, on European servers. That's also a personal decision that you have to make for yourself. But I'm interested to hear from you. What is your favorite AI that you use on a daily basis? Or maybe something that I forgot and definitely should be looking into? Let me know in the comments down below. Next up, check out this interview here. As always, thanks a lot for watching. Stay healthy, get wealthy, and see you in the next one. Ciao.